Professor Paul Ananabaya joins us this morning. He is a senior advocate of Nigeria and, of course, a legal practitioner. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we should, cue in from where we ended that conversation, the back and forth between the Inter-Party Advisory Council and INEC. The IPAC is saying, we want you to extend the date by at least 1 month. And INEC is saying there will be no extension or review of the election timeline. What do you think is happening here?
I do not know what is happening. I can only speak on what I'm seeing. What I listened to the interview just before I came in, and I got a bit worried because it looks to me like the IPAC are sure that they will dictate to INEC. That's what I made out of that interview, because the questions were very clear. We are Nigerians and we should love this country and do the best for this country. Our constitution is our supreme law and document. That is why the word independent is in the INEC. Of course, if you go back, you would have had Federal Electoral Commission, FEDECO. You would have had National Electoral Commission. We've had all that. But now what we have under this present constitution is independent National Electoral Commission. And the constitution says the management of election rests with INEC, not with IPAC. Now I'm happy that INEC had said that they will not shift the dates and the schedules. These schedules have been published months back. And every political party knows that elections don't come last Christmas. Elections have been there. We already know the range of time elections will hold after this 2023. We know that in 2027 there will be election. What is the business of political parties beyond that to get ready for the elections? INEC publishes, gives notice based on the Constitution, and there's a call now to extend. And if you extend the primaries, well, it wouldn't matter. We don't want to get it wrong. Then what stops IPAC or any other set of people from saying, you know what, this election, there's a lot of violence, banditry in the country, so let's shift the election itself. So I don't think INEC was wrong in rejecting that. I support INEC. It is INEC that will look at its schedule, and if it finds that it needs to adjust, it will address this country and tell the Nigerians why it will do so, and being an independent body set up by the Constitution for that purpose. I want to plead with several groups in this country to allow INEC to do its job. Some of these unsolicited advice made public. You cannot advise and stop another group from advising. That's the point many of us should get clearly. If IPAC advises INEC to do this and INEC says no, because from the interview, as I saw, the legislator was saying, well, you were asking, what if? Man said, no, INEC will do it.
Moving the date.
So, no, if INEC then moves, it will affect my confidence in INEC from what I've just heard. Because the man said, don't worry about what INEC repeatedly saying. INEC will say that, but INEC will move. So if INEC now moves, if INEC now says tomorrow, we are going to do this and this, and now said, I will know that, well, maybe or maybe not.
Well,
so that is a problem that will raise. And finally, on that point, when you adjust the schedules, you may be taking us back to the amendments of the Electoral Act had gone to cure. And you now put so much pressure on INEC and on the electoral process. We need to conclude even election petitions in good time. We need to stop the era of people staying in government offices and using government money and paraphernalia to pursue their petitions. And starting early helps everyone. Where has IPAC been from the time the schedules were published? And you look at the reasons being given, religious ceremonies and all that. We took some days. So that's why we should move such a serious... So I think that INEC should stick to what their schedule for the purpose of maintaining that independence and winning the confidence of the rest of us who think that INEC is doing well and should continue. You will recall that some of the elections that had happened, there were predictions of doom. And INEC has said, no, we can get it right. And they've moved on, organized elections, and they moved on better than even everybody predicted.
Issues that Engineer Sonny raised, which you have also referenced now, is that of the Electoral Act. That he said that took a little while. But it would seem like even the Electoral Act is not done now. With this new amendment being proposed by the Senate and the National Assembly, Electoral Act 84-8 is being proposed for an amendment. I don't know if we can bring that up now. The only thing as far as the Senate is concerned about that one is that there is an element, there is a part of it that is leaving out some part of it. It says, for instance, the original section that is being amended says a political party that adopts the system of indirect primaries for its candidates shall clearly outline in its constitution and file the procedure for the democratic election of delegates to vote at the convention, congress, or meeting. That's the one that is being amended. So I'm wondering what you make, of that.
Well, this is the law as we know today. And Section 4 of the Constitution allows the National Assembly to make laws and amend them. We're not worried about that. It's only just passed through the Senate. It will also go to the House of Reps. Even though we have been told it is likely that the House of Reps will also agree with that, some process will go, and then the president will be expected to give assent. Those are process issues. They are not a problem to democracy. But we should remain on what the law is as of today. Now, you'll be wondering why an electoral act that has not been practiced, not been tested, there's so much energy and speed to get it amended. You'll be asking whether it is because it touches on politics and elections itself, so that members of the National Assembly themselves may be beneficiaries, because if these 3 delegates will vote, members of the National Assembly will become automatic delegates. That's what it looks like. So please, before the election, add us, that kind of...
And that's where I want to ask. I wonder if I'm alone on this. What is the relationship between the now controversial Section 84-12 and Section 84-8 that the National Assembly has amended?
It goes into, you see, my understanding is that the National Assembly will want an electoral primaries where they will have a better hold than where the party machinery in their states almost heard by the governors does not affect them. Because when you look at the politicking, if it is the direct primaries, it is easier. It's easier for, you know, the National Assembly people to get more people to vote for them. But if it is indirect, the state machinery decides who the primaries, the delegates are.
That, raises questions on my mind as well.
Once the delegates have been determined, will be determined by some type of electoral college, and you will not wake up and become that delegate. You will be that delegate if the machinery of state, the political machinery, says you will be delegate. So we cannot discuss on television how they will arrive at that.
From what I see in that law, a political party that adopts a system of indirect primary for the choice of its candidate shall clearly outline in its procedure for the. It doesn't say here. Forgive me. Maybe I'm just ignorant or naive. It doesn't say here. It says that it's the political party that adopts it.
I'm talking about the machinery of the party. That machinery of the party doesn't hang in the air. It goes at the ward level.
Doesn't that speak?
It goes at the local government level. It goes at the state level.
But doesn't that speak to, for me, I mean, that anyone who is not informed in this politicking, so to speak, will be wondering, doesn't that question the camaraderie, if any, between the members of the same political party from the states? For instance, the Senate, members of the Senate, especially those who are from the same political party, they are supposed to be working together for the development of their states. Members of the House of Representatives in the National Assembly are supposed to be working in cahoots with their governor for the development of the state and good governance of the people. Or am I missing something here?
There are many scenarios there. You are looking at is and ought. They ought to. But the is argument is that what happens? In many states, the state governors are not in sync with those in the House of Reps or Senate from their states. And it is complicated where the federal lawmaker is in another political party and the governor is in another political party. So all kinds of things play out. You look at the cross-carpeting. Those cross-carpeting becomes visible only when it is announced. When it is not announced, some people are in PDP, but they're actually APC or APGA. They're in APC, but they're actually PDP or APGA. It happens. So those are the things that play out. And even so you look at even the people you call the head of the governor or the state and all that. It's amorphous. My brother, there is no political ideology. What that law envisaged was a situation where there is a political ideology in which if you're a social democrat, everybody is a social democrat. And we told the social democrat perspective. And that's when you bring in political polls to say, this is how this party is likely to vote. But in Nigeria, a person that is APC this night can be PDP tomorrow. A person that's PDP this night can be APC tomorrow. And that's why those judgments of court that began to check political harlotry or jumpology should have been supported to bring some degree of sanity. If that sanity is not there, all this turbulence will continue. If we have ideology, then they will all reason along the same line.
Just so we don't lose the trail of statutory delegate. Now, what is the difference between a statutory delegate and a political appointee? And based on this amendment that the House of Reps is expected to concur with today, who are we going to be seeing as statutory delegate in the primaries that will be happening soon?
They've been listed out in the document. President, Vice President, Governor, Deputy Governor, members of the National Assembly, and all that. Goes out to local government, chairman of the party at local government, and state, and all that. So it also becomes unwieldy. It also becomes expensive, assuming that primaries will be done in Maiduguri. All these people will have to travel to Maiduguri, from Abeokuta to Maiduguri, from Sokoto to Maiduguri for that process. So I'm not so much concerned about the cost and all that, but I'm saying the simpler it is, the less complicated it is. And when all these to take care of these complications, that's why INEC has to start in good time, so that if there are issues, they can be addressed.
I think the subject of the conversation that my colleague is asking for is a comparison or some deducing. Just a second. Now, the law, as is, forbids political appointees to be part of that process. How do political appointees, just for the sake of clarity for those who may not understand or may be confused, how does a political appointee differ from a statutory delegate?
A political appointee is an appointee of mostly the governor and the president. Now, a member of the National Assembly is not a political appointee. Now, when you add these political appointees, it will further bloat. Now, the statutory delegates are because of their position. Members of, like I said, the NWC and all that, National Assembly, because you're a governor, not because I like your face or not, local state chairman, state functionaries of the party, these are statutory. But when you talk about political appointees, they are the special assistants of the governor, the commissioners, and all that.
Ministers?
Yes.
Okay.
So some states will have 400 of such. So when you add all that, and you remember, before even the primary start, before these people are going to vote, if you are not in the good books of government, you have already lost the election. Yes, because he who pays the piper, you know.
Are you concerned, Prof, that this particular section that is being amended is only speaking to indirect primaries?
Yes.
Not direct, not consensus.
If you haven't done everybody will...
Is there an indication anywhere from that allusion?
The indication is people are racing. That's what I was saying. If it is direct, the hold of the system on the outcome of the primaries is a lot watered down. But if it's indirect, the system goes as it has always been. So your chances are very slim if the powers that be are not with you.
No, Prof, the parties have until June the 3rd, as deadline to tidy up their houses and be done with their primaries. This amendment has been done on the 10th of May.
That's not amendment, the amendment bill.
Yes. Are you confident that it would get the assent of the executive before that time frame? And do you think we're headed for some sort of constitutional crisis if
I don't think so.
We've always sorted out?
I don't want to go into the politics of assent to bills. I'm yet to see a bill in the last 10 years that just went to the executive and was signed almost immediately without objections, taking it back and forth. That is a discussion for another day. But for today, what we have seen is that the Senate has passed it. And I expect that all that we do as a country, we should watch the effect on the overall project. If that, as we speak, political parties have put up their own schedule based on INEC. In many places, delegates to primaries have already been selected. When you undertake some amendments that now affects in any way those already chosen, if that June 3rd, with the June 3rd already in place, it will put the electoral process under pressure. Now, why wouldn't we first run a first run of this new Electoral Act? And then, if we find loopholes on amendments or lacunas, we can do a comprehensive amendment and not bits. This one, why is this chosen out of every other thing? Because those who are pushing to an amendment are also beneficiaries. There are major issues that are affecting Nigerians. In Abuja today, there are fuel queues. People are dying literally of things they shouldn't because the situation is difficult. We elect lawmakers, we elect the executive to make sure that things are improved. Nobody will say that he's not aware that things are tough. There are very, very urgent issues, health issues. ASU is on strike. I have not seen that being on the front burner, even in the National Assembly, giving this type of speed.
Well, incidentally, the Senate, as it was yesterday, that the Senate is saying that they're going to intervene.
They are going to.
Yes.
But they've already intervened in amending a new law. So this is the point.
Okay.
I want to follow up on a point that you made, that we should test run this electoral law, and then if there are errors, we can look into that subsequently. Yesterday, we had a very profound conversation on, some aspects of the law that some are questioning, just to allow them pursue their ambition, which is, the question about whether or not the CBN governor should be an aspirant in this election. His lawyers are saying, look, under Section 137 of the Constitution,
1G.
He is not a political appointee.
So what is he?
Is that an error, of the Electoral Act that was not anticipated? And what are the other errors that you think should be given a second look and a second thought, ahead, so that in the future lawyers don't take advantage of those loopholes, and make arguments in court that will, delay and complicate the electoral process?
Well, that's huge. The Electoral Act doesn't just come from the blues. There were debates, there were public hearings, and Electoral Act amendment takes a while, and it comes from observers and stakeholders. Now, whether the CBN governor is a political appointee. Arguments can go anywhere they want to go. My local understanding of the office of a CBN governor is that he's appointed by the president. I don't know whether he's elected. I don't think so. I believe he's appointed. If there's any other meaning of a political appointee, I would like to know. I believe he's appointed, and that is why when his tenure is, this present Stephen Gordon, when his tenure he was reappointed. He was reappointed. In fact, in the first time he could have gone to Senate for approval, the reappointment, no Senate. So I don't understand the argument that he's not a political appointee. He's a public servant. So it's only Section 318, definition of a civil servant and all that. Yes, people are entitled to the arguments. I think that beyond all those arguments, our economy is under stress. Section 9 of the CBN Act is very clear. Running for presidency of Nigeria is not a tea party. You cannot be a CBN governor and running for presidential tickets, and you say it is not going to affect Section 9 of the CBN Act. You are saying that if the time used to go to Sokoto, Kanu, Rivers to address delegates, to declare, if he was to do that, whose time is it? It's not part of the time we are paying for in his employment.
Okay.
So these are now much more. It's so sensitive a position that it's one of those that we cannot afford, regardless of what the express provision of the law is. If you want to be a CBN governor, you are a Nigerian. If you want to be a presidential candidate, be a presidential candidate.
Well,
we can carry that in with some other positions, not with the economy. The number one person on the economy, monetary policies that should be fiscal policies that should be done without any leanings.
okay. Well, just one. I mean, you've referenced it. She's asked a question like twice or so about the same question. That is this vexed issue of 8812 of the Electoral Act.
Yes.
As at today, is it a law?
As of today, well, the issues are still fluid because there are still litigations on it. So I will not pronounce categorically. But my opinion is that that provision of the law should be allowed to stand.
No, I asked that question against the backdrop of, first of all, the High Court pronouncement.
Yes.
And then that Court of Appeals
yes.
pronouncement. So that's the position, that's
yes.
the angle that I'm looking at.
It is still fluid because, even though the position today by the Court of Appeal is not favorable.
In your opinion, what's the position of the Court of Appeal as of today?
Well, there have been too many of those decisions in various divisions. But what I make is that the court obviously did not agree with Justice Eko's position. So the jumpings can be done by the governor, but not the House, Assembly, neither the Senate or National Assembly. Coming from Abegunde's case in Ifedapo, from Ondo State. Now, that is the position as of today. But I think that in the best interest of this country, that's my thinking, personal thinking, that Section 8412 should be upheld to remain the law, to bring sanity.
Some governors have acted on it, activated it, told their political appointees who want to run for office to go face their ambitions and all. But there are those who are wondering, maybe if the president did the same thing and gave that order, or the party, each of the political parties made that, a provision or a procedure in their own rules as well, maybe it'll give them
now resigning 3 months is useful. It is. Go and look at the states where the governors have gone that way. You will agree with me that it is useful. Why will you? This is not what the CBN governor is saying. I will be CBN governor, will be doing and be going for party. You know what it takes to run for presidency? Nocturnal meetings.
I've never tried, so
I mean, so So many official assignments will be affected. Rather than you leave and someone focuses on that. So when you gather, look at how many people that bought tickets for the form for tickets in some political parties. With as at 100 million or 40 million, you have over 20 in some. That tells you that many persons who we are entrusting our governance in have other things they want to do.
And that is why I want to ask, Prof.
Yes. So I support
the objective,
that the 3 months resignation. So we know that it's a serious business to run election.
So as a result, the objective of 8412,
yes,
which is, discipline and to ensure some stability in the, political space. If you look at the response to it from, even the National Assembly, has that objective been achieved?
The objective will never be achieved, particularly outside the judicial process. That's why the judicial process is there to stabilize it. The politician will assess it from the point that favors him. Because politics is a selfish game. It depends on whether it is the opposition or the person benefiting from the law as it is.
Well, it's an endless conversation because I thought that we should the issue of 8412 has been put to bed, and now this one that's not sleeping yet, 84-8. Let's just wait for the outcome of it. And there is an issue you raised, which I think is of concern. You said you haven't seen a bill that goes to the presidency and comes out expeditiously. Should we be concerned?
Well, I'm not concerned. The presidency has its own legal team. They have to scrutinize. They have to be sure. But you can see that even after the Electoral Act went back and forth, we're already amending it without practicing it.
Well, Professor Paul Ananaba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, thank you so much again for being here. It's always a delight to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Ananaba.
So, well, we'll take another break now. When we return, it's to look at one of the issues that Professor Ananaba referenced as a governance issue that needs attention. Stay with us.